The sky over America changed forever. On June 24th, 1947, under the clear blue expanse near Mount Rainier, a sharp-eyed pilot named Kenneth Arnold spotted 9 shining crescent-shaped objects moving with a speed and grace no human craft could match. They glided like saucers skipping on water, Arnold told reporters, coining a phrase that would ignite imaginations worldwide. This innocent flight shook the foundation of what humankind thought was possible, opening a gateway to mystery, secrecy, and the unknown. Before we journey further, feel free to leave a comment with from what location you're watching this, and what time it is there. Now, settle in as our exploration truly begins. What followed in the years ahead was a cascade of sightings. Blinking lights, unexplained radar reports, objects vanishing into thin air. Stories came from farmers, pilots, military personnel, and everyday citizens seeing shadows dance above fields and cities. The Air Force, faced with swelling reports, launched official inquiries. From 1947 to 1969, they undertook their greatest effort, Project Blue Book. 17 years of cataloging, analyzing, and chasing truth. Over 12,000 reports from across the nation. Though many were explained with mundane causes, hundreds defied reason and science. Early in its inception, Project Blue Book was shaped by paranoia and intrigue. The Cold War's shadow loomed large, driving the Air Force to scrutinize every strange phenomenon for potential Soviet threats. Some reports, once dismissed, later proved linked to secret experimental aircraft, like the U-2 spy plane, in the dusty offices of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Scientists and intelligence officers sifted through witness testimonies and radar data. They studied photos and physical traces, debated fiercely over explanations, and wrestled with the limits of technology and knowledge. Yet the unexplained incidents posed deeper questions. An unidentified object moving silently against the wind, changing course abruptly with impossible acceleration, lights hovering, pulsating in rhythmic patterns over isolated towns, reports of figures seen near crash sites, and strange metal debris recovered under shroud of secrecy. One of the most compelling cases involved McMinnville, Oregon, where in 1950 a couple captured photographs of a flying disc-shaped object, still considered among the best physical evidence from the era. Iconic images circulated, inspiring public fascination and skepticism alike. Project Blue Book faced challenges beyond the technical. The program contended with media frenzy, government secrecy, and sometimes direct pressure to downplay threats or misidentify objects to avoid public panic. Captain Edward J. Ruppold, the first head of Project Blue Book, was known for his fair-minded approach. Under his leadership, protocols and data collection improved. He emphasized serious scientific inquiry while acknowledging the mystery's vastness. During his tenure, Ruppelt coined the now famous term unidentified flying object to replace the more sensational flying saucer, attempting to bring a clinical tone to discussions. Counter-spy operations, misidentifications, and even hoaxes complicated the landscape. Blue Book's team struggled to discern genuine phenomena from human error, psychological influence, or outright deception. But the unanswered remained. Why did some objects appear to possess flight capabilities beyond any known engineering? Why were they often reported near military installations? And why did so many witnesses, from everyday people to experienced military personnel, stand firm in their accounts despite ridicule? In the final years of Project Blue Book, the Air Force released a conclusive report stating no evidence of extraterrestrial origin or threat had been found. The program was declassified and terminated in 1969, leaving behind a legacy both celebrated and contested. Tonight, as you drift deeper into sleep's embrace, imagine yourself stepping into the shoes of investigators, staring upward toward the dark vastness, asking relentless questions. Welcome to the story of Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book began in March 1952, succeeding 2 earlier efforts, Project Sign and Project Grudge, that started as America's first official responses to the growing number of UFO sightings. while Project Sign aimed to determine if UFOs posed a threat or had extraterrestrial origins. It was limited by skepticism and concern over public reaction. Project Grudge followed, focusing more on dismissal and debunking reports. Blue Book, however, represented a more systematic and scientific approach to the mystery. Headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base near Dayton, Ohio, the project became the largest and longest-running official investigation into UFO phenomena in the world. Over its 17-year span, Blue Book amassed over 12,600 sighting reports from all over the United States, as well as from military personnel worldwide. Early project leadership fell to Captain Edward J. Ruppold, a man with a reputation for diligence and fairness. Under Ruppold's direction, Blue Book adopted scientific protocols, carefully documenting reports and interviewing witnesses to separate credible observations from misidentifications or hoaxes. It was Ruppold who coined the term unidentified flying object, replacing the inflammatory and misleading flying saucer. The 1950s and 1960s were decades of rapid technological advancement, shadowed by the Cold War's tense atmosphere. Many UFO sightings coincided with secret test flights of advanced aircraft like the U-2 spy plane, and later the A-12 Ox cart, flown under veil of extreme secrecy. Blue Book investigators often found military aircraft as likely explanations for sightings reported near airfields and test sites. However, the unexplained cases consistently raised questions. Objects moving at impossible speeds and directions, appearing and disappearing at will, defying conventional aviation principles. Some sightings involved multiple witnesses, radar confirmation, and even physical evidence considered credible by investigators. J. Allen Hynek served as the Air Force's scientific consultant during much of Blue Book's operation. Initially a skeptic, dismissing most cases as explainable by natural or man-made phenomena, Hynek's perspective shifted as he encountered reports that resisted conventional explanation. Notably, he developed a close encounter classification system, categorizing UFO interactions from distant sightings, close encounters of the first kind, to physical effects and direct contact, second and third kinds. Some iconic Blue Book cases that captured public attention included the Lubbock Lights in 1951, a series of V-shaped lights sighted and photographed over Texas, baffling both civilians and military officials. The famous Washington, D.C. sightings of 1952, when multiple radar operators detected fast-moving objects over the Capitol, confirmed visually by jet pilots who scrambled in pursuit. The Saco Row incident of 1964, when a New Mexico police officer witnessed a metallic craft landing briefly amidst a desert landscape, accompanied by unusual sounds and strange markings. Despite these high-profile cases, Blue Book faced significant institutional challenges. Political pressure often influenced investigations and public messaging to prevent mass panic during a tense geopolitical climate. The media sensationalized stories, sometimes blurring fact and fiction, complicating official efforts. Ultimately, in 1969, following the controversial Condon Report, an independent scientific study concluding UFO research unlikely to yield scientific discoveries, Project Blue Book was terminated. The Air Force concluded no UFO investigation had ever uncovered evidence of extraterrestrial vehicles or threats. However, even as Project Blue Book closed, nearly 6% of cases, 701 reports remained categorized officially as unidentified, a testament to the enduring enigma that has captured imaginations for decades. This chapter in America's history was not merely a catalog of unexplained aerial phenomena, but a profound cultural mirror reflecting humanity's perennial desire to know the unknown, to ask what lies beyond the skies we call home. The 1960s marked a critical period for Project Blue Book, both in the nature of reported UFO encounters and the evolution of public and scientific response. While the earlier post-war years had been filled with isolated sightings, the 60s saw a surge in more complex, often dramatic cases with layers of mystery and intrigue. In 1961, The now iconic Betty and Barney Hill encounter pierced the veils of the ordinary. Driving along a dark stretch of U.S. Route 3 in New Hampshire, the Hills noticed a bright object following their car. Overcome by confusion and fear, they later recalled missing 2.5 hours of that night. Under hypnosis, they shared harrowing memories of being abducted, subjected to examinations, and introduced to unsettling beings. The narrative of alien abductions shook the cultural fabric, altering perceptions about UFO occupants from the benign figures of early years to often menacing, inscrutable entities. This case spurred closer attention to psychological and physical accounts tied to UFO phenomena. For witnesses around the world, it validated the possibility of direct alien interaction, opening new realms for investigation and speculation. Then came the Socorro incident in 1964, an event that more than any other challenged existing explanations. Police officer Lonnie Zamora was on patrol when he spotted a shimmering, egg-shaped craft resting on legs in a remote desert area. Near the craft, two figures in coveralls appeared, adding to the surreal scene. As Zamora moved closer, the figures boarded the craft, which then took off with no sound. The ground bore imprints and burned patches, physical evidence that intrigued investigators. Zamora's status as a respected officer lent credibility, and Project Blue Book classified the event as unidentified. Socorro became emblematic of many such cases where direct witness testimony intersected with physical clues defying easy dismissal. Throughout the decade, reports poured in from commercial pilots, military personnel, and civilians, often corroborated by radar data and photographs. The Washington, D.C. UFO incident of July 1952 remains one of the most dramatic episodes in Blue Book history. Over several nights, radar operators detected low-flying, fast-moving objects. Jet fighters were dispatched, pilots observing bright lights executing extraordinary maneuvers far beyond conventional technology. Public alarm grew, and the Air Force faced immense pressure to find answers. The official explanation attributed many sightings to temperature inversions and misidentified planets, but many involved remained unresolved. Scientists advising Blue Book, most notably astronomer J. Allen Hynek, began voicing frustration over the dismissive approach often adopted in investigations. Hynek developed the Close Encounters classification system to better articulate the nature of encounters from mere visual observation to interactions involving entities and physical effects, a framework still influential in UFO research. Political and social pressures complicated Blue Book's efforts. Officials sought to prevent public panic amid Cold War anxieties, while maintaining procedural thoroughness. The rise of counterculture and mistrust in government further painted UFO phenomena with suspicion and hope. Blue Book also grappled with numerous hoaxes, including fabricated photographs, trick aerial maneuvers, and deliberate false reports, which muddied data and challenges credibility. Still, high-profile cases with solid evidence persisted and resisted conventional explanation. Scientific inquiry culminated in the 1966 Condon Committee study at the University of Colorado. Despite exhaustive review of Blue Book's files and other cases, the committee reported insufficient evidence to warrant future government UFO investigations. The study's conclusion set the stage for Project Blue Book's closure in 1969. By that time, Blue Book had documented over 12,600 encounters. While most had prosaic explanations, 701 cases remained mysteries, objects and incidents officially unidentified, but fueling decades of speculation. Among these unexplained were cases that involved radar confirmation without visual contact, multiple eyewitnesses, high-speed maneuvers, and evidence of physical impacts on the environment. The closing of Project Blue Book shifted the cultural landscape rather than settling debate. Its archives became treasure troves for researchers, forcing a public reevaluation of secrecy, science, and the limits of human understanding. From Hill's abduction narrative to military radar anomalies, the 1960s stories from Project Blue Book reveal a complex labyrinth of sightings, evidence, and human experience. echoing still in today's search for truth in the skies. Beginning with America's increasing fascination with unidentified phenomena. The Air Force established Project Blue Book in 1952 to bring scientific accountability to a subject shrouded in speculation and mystery. Located near Dayton, Ohio, at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. This comprehensive investigation sought to catalog thousands of sightings from across the United States and beyond. The sheer scale was staggering. Over 12,600 reports amassed in its operational years, each scrutinized for clues that could separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. In those years, the public's imagination was ignited by stories of strange lights and objects defying conventional understanding. Some were quickly dismissed as weather balloons or atmospheric effects. Others were traced to secret military programs. Yet many cases resisted explanation, leaving governments and citizens grappling with the limits of perception and technology. The Air Force's top scientist consultant, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, initially approached the project with skepticism. Over time, however, his outlook deepened. He developed a classification that transformed mere sightings into descriptive, close encounters. The first kind being visual confirmations, the second, physical interactions, the third, contact with alleged occupants. Hynek's work laid the groundwork for understanding UFO events as more than folklore, turning them into a subject worthy of rigorous scientific attention. The decade's most famous cases brought Blue Book under intense scrutiny. The Washington, D.C. flap in 1952, for instance, involved detected objects on radar and multiple eyewitness accounts of brightly glowing, fast-moving craft defying the laws of physics. Despite numerous official explanations about atmospheric phenomena or celestial bodies, the persistent views from the witnesses left doubt in many minds. Among civilian witnesses, the 1951 Lubbock Lights incident became iconic when multiple observers described a V-shaped formation of glowing orbs, captured in photographs later investigated by the Air Force. The Lubbock case exemplified the tension between credible observation and the challenge of scientific proof in ambiguous circumstances. The 1960s introduced another dimension with abduction stories such as Betty and Barney Hills in New Hampshire. Their chilling account of missing time and extraterrestrial examination broadened the narrative beyond simple sightings, suggesting contact with otherworldly beings and raising compelling psychological and sociological questions. Durable physical evidence was rare but compelling when found, as seen in Officer Lonnie Zamora's account near Socorro, New Mexico, 1964. This close encounter brought not only detailed testimony but also physical disturbances on the environment. Scorch marks, imprints in the ground that baffled investigators and defied conventional explanation. Scientific rigor was frequently tested by competing interests. The Cold War context meant Blue Book operated within a climate of secrecy and suspicion, balancing the public's need for information with national security concerns. Various sightings were later linked to covert spy plane operations, particularly the U-2 and A-12 programs. Such revelations explained many observations but also fueled theories of cover-ups to obscure more explosive truth. The 1966 Condon Committee represented the government's attempt to step back and place UFO investigations under independent scientific review. Led by physicist Edward U. Condon, the committee scrutinized thousands of Blue Book case files, pilot testimonies, and radar data. Ultimately, they found insufficient evidence for the extraterrestrial hypothesis and recommended termination of official investigations. In December 1969, Blue Book was officially closed, yet over 700 cases remained unresolved, categorized as unidentified. This slender but persistent vein of mystery continues to intrigue researchers, enthusiasts, and skeptics alike. Beyond the sightings and reports, Blue Book revealed the human face of the unknown. Officers afraid to report what they saw, scientific advisors caught between skepticism and wonder, military brass navigating geopolitical paranoia, civilians whose quiet lives were forever transformed by moments of contact. Declassified files now open a window into this era where science met secrecy, truth vied with dismissal, and the skies above held secrets unspoken. No physical evidence definitively linked to extraterrestrial origin ever surfaced. Still, the unexplained cases illustrate that not all answers lie within our current reach, leaving room for curiosity, debate, and continued exploration. Among the many reports, some describe objects moving in ways defying our understanding of physics, hovering silently, accelerating instantaneously, and disappearing without trace. Others include reports of unusual lights in formation, atmospheric disturbances, and strange craft silhouettes. The influence of Project Blue Book echoes through time, inspiring popular culture, scientific inquiry, and government programs into unidentified aerial phenomena that persist in the 21st century. Each case carries its own story, of witnesses' awe and fear, of fleeting glimpses of the extraordinary. These tales are now etched in history, fragments of a larger puzzle humanity continues trying to solve. The closing chapters of Project Blue Book reveal layers of intrigue, unanswered questions, and the deeply human impulse to seek understanding beyond what is visible. By the late 1960s, the project faced mounting skepticism from both within and outside the military, yet its archives held countless reports, some solved, many not. One of the core reasons for Blue Book's termination was the 1968 Condon Report, conducted by the University of Colorado under physicist Edward U. Condon. The exhaustive 12-month investigation reviewed over 100 UFO cases, including dozens from Blue Book's files, through scientific lenses including physics, psychology, and atmospheric science. The report's major conclusion was stark. UFO study was unlikely to yield major scientific breakthroughs or evidence of extraterrestrial technology. It recommended that government-funded UFO investigations cease, a decision that strongly influenced the Air Force's executive directive ending Project Blue Book on December 17, 1969. Though officially closed, Blue Book left behind an archive of over 12,600 sighting reports, 701 of which were never identified. These unexplained cases span decades and possess a spectrum of characteristics: inexplicable flight paths, multiple witnesses, radar corroborations, strange lights, and sometimes physical evidence like landing marks or electromagnetic disturbances. Among the more enigmatic reports are the Malmstrom Air Force Base incident in 1967, where missile systems reportedly malfunctioned coinciding with UFO sightings overhead, suggesting a possible interference or presence beyond known technology. The Covina, California incidents, involving residents witnessing odd craft and sudden electrical failures, underscoring the physical effects some UFOs were claimed to have on their environment. Unexplained radar and visual sightings by commercial and military pilots, along with multiple ground observers, demonstrating cases with technological sophistication and intelligent control beyond ordinary aircraft capabilities. Despite scientific dismissal from some sectors, many investigators and ufologists continued to view Blue Book's findings as evidence of either a hidden technology or alien visitation. The decades following saw a shift from government-led investigation to grassroots research communities, with Blue Book's archives becoming the bedrock for enthusiasts and scholars seeking further answers. Culturally, Blue Book ignited a lasting fascination with extraterrestrial life and the unknown, inspiring literature, film, and conspiracy lore. Terms like close encounters entered public discourse, and the concept of alien abduction gained widespread attention. In recent years, renewed official interest in unidentified aerial phenomena (UAP) continues to bring attention back to phenomena similar to those documented in Blue Book. Technology advancements in radar, infrared imaging, and global satellite monitoring have unveiled new layers to the mystery that some objects still resist classification, challenging current understanding. Many former Blue Book investigators reflect on the project as an extraordinary experiment in scientific openness, constrained by geopolitical realities and public diplomacy. It was as much a story of human endeavor, scientific humility, and institutional caution as it was about the objects themselves. The Blue Book files remain a repository of paradoxes, meticulous records shadowed by intrigue, clear photographs clouded by doubt, credible testimonies intertwined with uncertainties, and a haunting question left unanswered: what truly moves beyond the sight and reach of human knowledge? In this journey through Project Blue Book's legacy, we encounter not only unexplained lights and shapes, but also a mirror reflecting the breadth of human belief, fear, curiosity, and the ceaseless search for truth. With each report, the wave of history pulses forward, connecting us with vigilant witnesses, cautious scientists, and the unyielding allure of the unknown. The final phases of Project Blue Book unfolded in a time of immense societal and technological upheaval. The 1960s presented a kaleidoscope of sightings and reports, layered with cultural anxieties and scientific developments that would shape public discourse for decades. It was a turbulent ending to an enigmatic journey. In the midst of the Cold War, every unidentified phenomenon acquired pressing significance. Military personnel on high alert eyed the skies suspiciously, wary of Soviet technologies or espionage. At the same time, ordinary citizens found their perceptions challenged by inexplicable glimpses in the sky. The program's investigative rigor fluctuated against this backdrop. High-quality data was often scarce. Many sightings came from deeply anxious witnesses or hurried reports. Resources were limited, and in some senses, Blue Book operated as much in the public relations arena as in scientific inquiry. The University of Colorado Condon Committee's 1968 assessment concluded that pursuing UFO science would not produce meaningful results. The conclusion, however, was controversial and met with significant criticism from both scientists and public UFO researchers, who argued the committee overlooked cases deserving deeper scrutiny. Project Blue Book's official shutdown in December 1969 did not end public fascination or governmental interest in aerial phenomena. Indeed, this period marks the birth of more decentralized, often civilian-led UFO research, with aficionados, whistleblowers, and investigators piecing together stories and hypotheses from the lingering ashes of Blue Book. Key unresolved phenomena from Blue Book's files remain topics of rigorous debate. Physical evidence, though rare, includes material recovered from crash sites with unexplained properties, and electromagnetic interference connected to reported sightings. Radar data revealing unidentified targets moving faster and more erratically than any known aircraft continue to challenge explanations. One haunting element was the consistent presence of credible witnesses, experienced pilots, military radar operators, police officers, and even astronauts. Their testimonies gave weight to phenomena otherwise dismissed as hallucination or mass hysteria. Every unexplained report offers clues without providing definitive answers. There are patterns. Objects avoid detection technology, exhibit controlled flight patterns, and sometimes display responses to human observers, hinting at intelligence or guidance beyond current models. Beyond the technical, Blue Book revealed the psychological and sociological dimensions entwined in UFO reports. The personal impact on witnesses, the rise of conspiracy theories as trust in government wavered, and cultural expressions of hope, fear, and the profound quest for connection beyond Earth. Declassified Project Blue Book files provide invaluable documentation of each case, including interviews, photographs, and detailed reports that reveal the painstaking efforts to understand these phenomena. These archives are a tapestry of human curiosity. Scientists analyzing data, skeptics demanding evidence, witnesses recounting astonishing encounters, and officials balancing disclosure and security. Blue Book stands as a testament to an era where science met mystery. It represents both the triumphs and limitations inherent in the pursuit of knowledge, an open question mark positioned in the starry sky. The legacy is alive in ongoing research and official programs investigating unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, into the 21st century, reminding us that the skies still invite wonder and the unknown remains to be unveiled. Among the thousands of reports documented by Project Blue Book, some stand apart for their detail, complexity and enduring mystery. These cases offer a glimpse into the wide spectrum of encounters, ranging from fleeting lights in the sky to prolonged close interactions, each contributing to the project's enigmatic legacy. In 1965, a notable sighting dubbed the Kecksburg Incident captured public and official attention. Residents near Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, reported a fiery object streaking across the sky, crashing into a nearby wooded area with a loud boom. The Air Force quickly cordoned off the area, and reports suggested a strange metallic object shaped like an acorn was recovered under secrecy. Witnesses also described military personnel and unmarked trucks rapidly removing debris. Although officially explained as a meteor or re-entered space debris, the case echoed throughout UFO circles with claims of government cover-up. Blue Book's files include some investigation into this event, but never a conclusive public report. The 1966 Michigan dogfight involved multiple Royal Canadian Air Force pilots chasing fast-moving objects performing impossibly tight maneuvers. The objects reportedly accelerated rapidly, outpacing the jet's capabilities. Radar and visual confirmation supported the pilot's testimony, yet no aircraft or object was ever identified or intercepted. Technological and methodological advances during Project Blue Book's operational years marked efforts to improve data collection. Investigations became more systematic, with detailed questionnaires covering object size, shape, speed, maneuverability, coloration, sound, and environmental effects. Witness credibility was also assessed rigorously, with input taken from experienced military and civilian observers. The Washington National Airport sightings of 1952 ignited media frenzy. Objects tracked on 2 radar systems, seen by JFK airport controllers, and visually confirmed by several commercial pilots. The Air Force's initial explanations centered on temperature inversions, causing radar image anomalies. But this did little to quell public skepticism. Social dynamics of the era influenced Blue Book's reception. The space race, Cold War paranoia, and a rapidly changing cultural landscape transformed UFOs from fringe phenomena to a mainstream interest. Movies and books proliferated themes of alien visitors, government conspiracies, and secret technologies. The public both feared and thrilled at the idea of extraterrestrial presence. Meanwhile, the scientific community remained skeptical. Professors and researchers often questioned the validity of UFO studies, citing lack of reproducibility and physical proof. Blue Book's adherence to scientific protocol was criticized on both sides by true believers for dismissiveness and by skeptics for perceived credulity. Political sensitivity played a profound role. The U.S. government's need to manage public perception while safeguarding military secrets complicated transparency. Some suggest this contributed to selective disclosure or the downplay of certain cases. One particularly paradoxical case was the Gorman dogfight in 1948, when a North Dakota Air National Guard pilot engaged a small, fast-moving object in a prolonged chase. The pilot reported erratic movement and eventual disappearance of the target. Radar at a nearby base temporarily lost track, but picked up anomalies consistent with the pilot's observations. Although the target was never identified, Blue Book's official explanation leaned towards misidentification or atmospheric effects, a conclusion contested by many ufologists. Project Blue Book's archive reveals hundreds of such perplexing encounters, with recurring themes of advanced flight characteristics, sudden disappearances, and physical effects without tangible evidence. Importantly, many cases involved controlled interactions suggesting intelligence behind the phenomena, though no definitive contact was ever confirmed. Officials like Blue Book's last director, Major Hector Quintanilla Jr., are noted for their skeptical stance, often emphasizing natural or man-made explanations. Yet, even Quintanilla acknowledged the significance of unexplained reports and encouraged thorough investigation. The program's exhaustive database allowed behavioral pattern analysis, with recurring sightings along flight corridors near military installations, and during periods of global tension, This patterning suggested an operational or observational purpose behind at least some sightings, though the true nature remains opaque. With Blue Book's closure, government UFO research transitioned into classified programs, reflecting enduring official interest beneath public silence. Recent disclosures and documents confirm ongoing attention to aerial anomalies with unexplained characteristics. From initial 1947 flashes to 1969 cessation, Project Blue Book charts a remarkable trajectory of exploration, intrigue, and unanswered questions that continue to engage the human spirit of discovery. Without physical proof, but with countless reports and testimonies, Blue Book remains a foundational chapter in the search for truth about the skies above. As the decade of the turbulent 1960s drew to a close, Project Blue Book reached its culmination but left behind a legacy that continues to captivate the imagination of millions. On December 17, 1969, the then Secretary of the Air Force officially terminated the program, citing exhaustive scientific study, including the pivotal University of Colorado Condon Report, which concluded that further investigation was unlikely to provide significant breakthroughs. This decision marked the end of an era in official UFO research, but it also marked the beginning of a new chapter in public consciousness and private exploration. At its conclusion, Project Blue Book had collected and analyzed 12,618 UFO sighting reports. Among these, approximately 701 remained officially unidentified after stringent evaluation. These unresolved cases present anomalies in aerial behavior and physical characteristics that refuse easy classification under known scientific or technological frameworks. Throughout its lifespan, Project Blue Book's mission was twofold: to safeguard national security by assessing whether any reported flying objects posed a threat, and to apply scientific inquiry to unexplained phenomena. Its findings underscored the complexity of balancing military secrecy, scientific integrity, and public curiosity. Late-stage Blue Book investigations delved deeper into reports where witness credibility was high. Military pilots, radar operators, law enforcement officials, and multiple independent observers. Cases involving multimodal data, combinations of visual, radar, photographic, and even physical trace evidence became the most intriguing. One salient example was the Ellsworth Air Force Base sighting, where skilled personnel observed high-speed objects, maneuvering in ways inconsistent with any known aircraft. The objects exhibited rapid changes in velocity, and took flight paths without aerodynamic explanation. In another case, extensive ground vibrations and electromagnetic interference were reported in connection with a luminous craft observed hovering near a rural farming community. Instrument readings fluctuated inexplicably, and local wildlife behavior altered in response to the phenomena, suggesting a physical presence affecting the environment. Project Blue Book scientific consultants, notably Dr. J. Allen Hynek, championed the rigorous documentation and open-minded evaluation of such accounts. While maintaining scientific skepticism, Hynek grew convinced that some cases warranted further, serious study. His close encounter classification system has since provided an organizing framework still used in modern UFO research. Challenges arose not only from the phenomena themselves, but from institutional and cultural barriers. Internal disagreements about data interpretation, pressures to downplay public alarm, and skepticism from academic circles all shaped how Blue Book functioned and communicated. Following closure, much of Blue Book's material was archived with names and sensitive information redacted. Yet the essence of the mystery was preserved. These materials have since been released publicly, fueling renewed interest, theories, and research. The program's impact rippled into popular culture, influencing films, literature, and public dialogue. The concept of extraterrestrial visitation gained a foothold in the public psyche, blending scientific inquiry with human storytelling and myth-making. In parallel, many cases continue to intrigue researchers. Objects observed accelerating beyond known propulsion limits, instantaneous disappearance from radar, coordinated light formations, and at times reported encounters with non-human entities. Project Blue Book symbolizes a landmark in humanity's quest to understand unknown aerial phenomena within a scientific and national security framework. It represents both the dedication to empirical study and the enduring human fascination with mysteries beyond our grasp. Even today, the legacy of Project Blue Book informs ongoing studies and government reports into unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP. Its files serve as a cornerstone for understanding and exploring the boundary between known science and the unexplained. Project Blue Book stands as perhaps the most comprehensive official effort in history, dedicated to investigating unidentified flying objects in the United States. Operating from 1952 to 1969, it followed the precedent of its predecessors, Project Sign and Project Grudge, but distinguished itself by adopting a more systematic and scientific approach to an otherwise elusive phenomenon. Based out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base near Dayton, Ohio, Blue Book collected an astounding tally of 12,118 reported sightings. Its investigators employed detailed questionnaires, witness interviews, radar data, photographic analysis, and physical evidence examination in an attempt to seek rational explanations for the mysterious occurrences that stirred both excitement and unease across the country. The majority of cases were resolved as misidentifications. Weather balloons mistaken for disks, stars mistaken for craft, or even conventional aircraft spotted under unusual lighting conditions. However, these explanations only illuminate part of the story. A striking 701 reports remained officially unidentified, enduring as shadows in the archival files, cases where witnesses' accounts combined with radar readings or physical traces defied explanation, and technology of the time couldn't account for the behavior observed. Notable instances blurred the boundaries of what technology, science, and the human mind understood. From the Lubbock Lights, a formation of phosphorescent orbs recorded on film, to the Washington, D.C. radar sightings, startling controllers and scrambling interceptors, Blue Book was situated at the crossroads of national security and paranormal enigma. Scientific consultant Dr. J. Allen Hynek contributed greatly to the project's standards, advocating for the classification of encounters based not merely on public anecdote, but on observational detail and interaction level. His categories, close encounters of the first kind, visual sightings, second kind, physical evidence, and third kind, contact with occupants, provided a systematic lens through which to view diverse reports. Throughout its history, Blue Book grappled with competing priorities: sincere investigation versus political caution, transparency versus secrecy, skepticism versus open curiosity. The Cold War's shadow loomed large, as UFOs intersected with fears of Soviet aerospace superiority, raising the stakes for rapid, sometimes incomplete explanations. Controversy frequently dogged Blue Book. Critics accused the Air Force of gaslighting or dismissing credible reports, while defenders cited the need to prevent public panic or the spread of misinformation. Internal memos occasionally revealed tension between scientific advisors and military leadership, with the former pushing for thoroughness and the latter inclined to downplay risk and publicity. By the late 1960s, scientific study seemed stalled. The University of Colorado's Condon Committee undertook an exhaustive review of Blue Book files and other research, culminating in a report advising cessation of UFO investigations due to lack of evidence supporting extraterrestrial hypotheses. Blue Book was officially closed shortly after, but public interest never waned. The thousands of remaining reports became fuel for countless aficionados, researchers, and skeptics alike. The declassified files now offer a window into the era's anxieties and ambitions. The human stories entwined with bright flashes and shadowy shapes in the night sky. They chronicle the painstaking collection of descriptions, the rigorous attempts to debunk or verify, and the persistent questions left on the margin of accepted knowledge. Extended cases include reports of multi-witness sightings supported by radar, accounts of vehicles displaying flight profiles inconsistent with known aeronautics, and incidents accompanied by physical and electromagnetic anomalies. such as instrument interference or material residue. The legacy of Project Blue Book persists as a foundational piece in the evolving conversation about unidentified aerial phenomena. In recent years, classification of UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, has reignited governmental and scientific examination, reaffirming the need for open-minded yet rigorous investigation. Beyond the files lie the cultural echoes, the narratives that have shaped films, books, documentaries, and countless testimonies that fuel speculation and desire to know what lies beyond the visible sky. Like Blue Book itself, this story combines empirical inquiry with mystery and wonder, inviting us to remain watchful and questioning as the skies continue to hold mysteries yet to be fully understood. Project Blue Book, established in 1952 and terminated in 1969, was the United States Air Force's longest and most detailed attempt to scientifically analyze UFO sightings. Situated primarily at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base near Dayton, Ohio, the program emerged during an era ripe with aerial mystery and Cold War tensions. Its dual mission was to determine if UFOs posed any threat to national security, and to collect and analyze data about the phenomenon. During its 17-year operation, Blue Book gathered an extensive catalog of 12,618 sightings, ranging from simple lights in the night sky to extraordinary encounters involving multiple credible witnesses, radar detection, photographs, and even physical evidence. Each report was treated with a standard protocol involving detailed witness interviews, verification attempts, and technical analysis. The Mueller standardized questionnaires included descriptions of the object's shape, size, color, movement, sound, atmosphere conditions, and any physical effects, like electromagnetic disturbances or landing marks. Investigators also assessed witness credibility, differentiating between trained observers, such as military pilots, and civilian witnesses. Most sightings were attributed to natural or man-made phenomena: stars, planets, weather balloons, aircraft, or optical illusions. However, 701 cases were classified as unidentified, remaining resistant to all scientific explanation. This residue of the unexplained carried intensive significance. Some sightings involved multiple independent witnesses, corroborated by radar or photographic evidence. Objects often displayed flight characteristics defying known physical laws: sudden changes in direction, extreme acceleration, silent hovering, or invisibility to certain detection technologies. One of the most famous was the 1952 Washington, D.C. incident, where radar and visual sightings of bright maneuvering objects caused several jet intercepts. Although the official explanation leaned toward weather-related phenomena, the multiple data streams suggested otherwise, challenging military and scientific assumptions. Dr. J. Allen Hynek, Blue Book scientific consultant, gradually transitioned from skeptic to advocate for systematic UFO research. His taxonomy of encounters, close encounters of the first, second, and third kind, provided a framework still used today, highlighting a progression from simple sighting to physical evidence and alleged contact with occupants. Throughout Blue Book's history, tension existed between maintaining public calm and pursuing transparency. Military officials were cautious, sometimes dismissive. Scientific advisors urged rigor and open-mindedness. The media sensationalized stories, blurring the line between fact and fiction. The Cold War context added an extra layer of complexity. Fear of foreign technology seemingly materializing in the sky meant every unidentified object was scrutinized for implications of espionage or weaponization. Some sightings were military exercises or secret spy planes like the U-2 or SR-71, deliberately cloaked but peering into enemy territories. Despite these plausible explanations, a core group of cases eluded resolution. Physical traces such as landing marks, electromagnetic effects, disrupting electronic equipment, and sightings of beings near crafts remain puzzling and unexplained. Blue Book's conclusion, influenced heavily by the 1968 Condon Report, advised an end to official UFO investigations, stating no evidence existed to compress extraterrestrial origin or threat. The program's sunset did not quell public interest, but rather encouraged grassroots research and cultural fascination. Much of Blue Book's extensive documentation is now declassified and accessible through the National Archives and Freedom of Information Act requests. These materials provide dense details, investigative reports, depersonalized witness statements, photographs, radar logs, and official memorandums outlining investigative strategies and conclusions. Modern government programs, including the Pentagon's UAP task force, have revisited many analog concerns, employing advanced sensor technologies and expanding on Blue Book's foundational work to confront ongoing mysteries. In summary, Project Blue Book embodies a unique chapter in history, blending science, surveillance, and speculative speculation. It chronicles humankind's enduring effort to explicate the unexplained, and serves as a reminder of the vast complexities involved in understanding phenomena above and beyond our conventional reality. Project Blue Book, by the time of its closure in 1969, represented the culmination of over 2 decades of systematic UFO investigations in the United States. Its meticulous archives contain not only witness statements, but also technical reports, radar logs, photographs, and physical evidence documentation. Despite the comprehensive scope and scientific efforts, the project reached a conclusion that to many was both definitive and controversial. Blue Book's official summary stated, "No UFO reported, investigated, and evaluated by the Air Force was ever an indication of a threat to national security. There was no evidence submitted or discovered indicating that sightings represented technological developments or principles beyond modern scientific knowledge. There was no evidence indicating sightings were extraterrestrial vehicles." These conclusions, however, did not end public debate or scientific interest. The project's declassified files reveal layers of complexity, including how investigators documented over 12,600 sightings. Of these, 90% were identified as conventional or natural phenomena, but 701 remained unidentified after exhaustive study. These unexplained cases involved multiple independent witnesses, radar confirmation, and sometimes physical evidence. Project Blue Book utilized rigorous investigative procedures, including standardized questionnaires, cataloging object appearance, flight characteristics, duration, and effects on the environment, witness credibility assessments, elevated the reliability of many reports, especially when from trained military or civilian pilots and radar operators. Through the project's history, many sightings were linked to secret military aircraft programs, such as the U-2 reconnaissance plane and its successor, the A-12OX cart. These classified projects inadvertently contributed to the UFO phenomena, as their flights kept secret for national security were often misidentified by observers unaware of their existence. Several incidents stand as icons of the project's unresolved mysteries. The Washington, D.C. flap in 1952 produced radar and visual contact with high-speed objects demonstrating flight maneuvers well beyond current aircraft capabilities. The Lubbock Lights, a formation of glowing orbs captured on film, challenged scientific explanations due to multiple effective eyewitnesses and photographic evidence. The Socorro incident in 1964 involved an experienced police officer's sighting of a metallic egg-shaped craft, with subsequent physical evidence documented by investigators. The cultural impact of Project Blue Book transcended military and scientific circles, deeply embedding UFOs into popular culture. The term flying saucer evolved scientifically into unidentified flying object, part of the lexicon adopted worldwide. Dr. J. Allen Hynek, whose scientific approach evolved during his tenure from skeptic to an advocate for serious UFO research, developed the Close Encounter Classification System. His approach injected a new methodological rigor into the field, categorizing encounters with increasing degrees of interaction and evidence. Though Project Blue Book officially ended, some UFO investigations continued under different, often classified government programs. The phenomena remain under scrutiny in contemporary initiatives like the Pentagon's UAP task force, which revisited many observations with modern technology. The public's fascination, alongside scientific curiosity, endures. The declassified archives of Project Blue Book allow researchers and enthusiasts today to engage deeply with raw data, photographs, case files, witness interviews, drawing new insights while acknowledging many mysteries still defy resolution. Project Blue Book's story is inseparable from the broader dialogue about humanity's place in the cosmos, the limits of scientific understanding, and the complex interplay of skepticism, belief, and the quest for truth. This chapter in history, rich with detail and intrigue, remains a powerful reminder that some questions about the skies remain open, inviting continued exploration and thoughtful inquiry, a pursuit that extends into the present day. Project Blue Book was more than merely a collection of UFO reports. It was a systematic, military-backed scientific inquiry, reflecting the intersection of Cold War anxieties, emerging aerospace technology, and the human impulse to understand the mysterious. Spanning 17 years from its inception in 1952 until its final termination in 1969, Blue Book's primary objectives were twofold. First, to assess whether unidentified flying objects posed any threat to U.S. national security. Second, to scientifically analyze UFO-related data and report its findings. The project's scale was immense. Over 12,600 individual sightings poured into Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Investigators established rigorous protocols for gathering data, comprehensive questionnaires, recorded observer details, exact object descriptions, measurements, flight behavior, environmental conditions, sound, and any physical effects observed, such as alterations to lights or electromagnetic interference. Witness credibility was a pillar of investigation. Many reports came from highly trained military pilots, radar technicians, meteorologists, and military officers, lending significant weight to their accounts. Meanwhile, civilians, including police officers, farmers, mechanics, and everyday citizens, also contributed crucial eyewitness testimonies, reflecting the wide reach of UFO phenomena into daily life. A pivotal element in Blue Book's scientific contribution was its collaboration with the Battelle Memorial Institute. In the early 1950s, the institute devised and implemented a computerized system to process UFO reports, reducing subjective bias and enabling statistical analysis across thousands of cases. The 1954 Special Report Number 14 by Battelle stands as one of the most significant studies within UFO research history, analyzing approximately 3,200 Blue Book cases. It utilized 4 categories to rate quality and outcome, ultimately classifying the majority as identified or insufficient information. However, the stringent criteria demanded unanimity for a case to remain unknown, underscoring Blue Book's careful, conservative classification standards. Technological advancements in radar and photography coincided with Blue Book's operational timeline, allowing for more objective evidence amid the sea of anecdotal reports. Yet many encounters remained puzzling. Inexplicable maneuvers, physical effects without clear sources, and persistent unidentified objects exhibited flight characteristics at odds with contemporary aerospace knowledge. Among the most notable cases underpinning the unexplained were multiple radar visual confirmations of unidentified objects over major metropolitan areas, such as the Washington, D.C. incidents of 1952 and encounters involving credible witnesses engaging with high-speed aerial phenomena. Although Blue Book's formal conclusion in 1969 declared no threat to national security, no evidence of extraterrestrial technology, and no definitive proof of alien visitation, the program admitted that a fraction of cases remained unidentified. These cases fueled decades of speculation, research, and cultural fascination. The termination followed the U.S. government-sponsored Condon Report, which controversially discouraged continued government-funded UFO research, citing insufficient evidence for scientific advancement. Many in the scientific community have contested the report's methodology and conclusion, fueling an ongoing debate about government transparency and scientific inquiry. Post-1969, interest in UFOs has endured vigorously. declassified Project Blue Book files and related documents have become invaluable for researchers exploring the phenomenon's historical foundations, witness experiences, and the evolution of governmental responses. Today, Project Blue Book's comprehensive archives reside within the National Archives and Records Administration. They include thousands of pages of reports, correspondence, photographs, and analyses. These serve as a foundational dataset for continued exploration, providing raw empirical material for researchers, historians, and enthusiasts globally. The program's enduring significance lies not only in its vast documentation, but also in its embodiment of the tension between institutional skepticism and the undeniable presence of unexplained aerial phenomena. Blue Book catalyzed broader societal interest in UFOs, shaping Hollywood, literature, and collective consciousness. Its methodological standards framed contemporary UFO research, influencing how governments and scientists approach unidentified aerial phenomena to this day. As research advances, including contemporary U.S. Department of Defense initiatives into UAPs, the foundational impulses and lessons of Project Blue Book remain relevant. It serves as a historic touchstone, reminding us that the skies still hold enigmas worthy of meticulous examination. The United States Air Force's most extensive official investigation into unidentified flying objects both began and evolved within the shifting context of post-World War II America. Its origins tie directly to early Cold War fears and the sudden surge in UFO sightings starting with Kenneth Arnold's 1947 report. Through nearly 2 decades, Blue Book sought systematic, scientific approaches to a phenomenon that defied simple explanation. At its headquarters inside Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, near Dayton, Ohio, the hub of advanced aerospace research and military intelligence, Blue Book meticulously compiled over 12,600 UFO sighting reports from across the country and beyond. Structured investigation protocols were developed, collating detailed accounts including object shape, size, altitude, speed, lighting, sound, duration, and environmental effects, such as electromagnetic disturbances. These forms balance the subjective experience of witnesses, who range from world-class aviators and radar operators to diligent civilians encountering the extraordinary unexpectedly, to bring order amid the chaos of data. The Battelle Memorial Institute collaborated closely with Blue Book. Beginning in the early 1950s, Battelle devised data processing methods, better questionnaires, and ultimately Special Report Number 14, a foundational statistical study that analyzed around 3,200 sightings. Their rigorous criteria, requiring consensus among multiple analysts to classify reports as unidentified, highlighted the project's scientific ambition. Analysis showed that a large majority of cases, up to 90%, were explicable through conventional means: stars, planets, aircraft, atmospheric, or optical phenomena. That percentage left a substantial subset, about 701 cases, that could not be satisfactorily explained using contemporary science or intelligence assessments. Among these unexplained cases are numerous well-documented phenomena, sightings confirmed by multiple senses and instruments, such as the 1952 Washington, D.C. radar and visual alert, where objects moved in patterns incongruent with known aircraft. Incidents involving physical traces, including landing marks, scorched earth, or electromagnetic effects on electrical systems. Accounts describing rapid acceleration, silent hovering, instant disappearance, and complex flight maneuvers, defying physics known to the time. Throughout its tenure, Blue Book bridged hemispheres of doubt and belief. Scientific advisors like Dr. J. Allen Hynek contributed methodical rigor while pushing for open-ended inquiry, resulting in the famous classification system of close encounters, framing encounter depth from simple sightings to physical contact. The program balanced prudence required by national security with a genuine pursuit of truth. However, political directives and public relations shaped messaging, sometimes skewing the narrative toward reassurance or skepticism. The 1968 Condon Report, commissioned under scrutiny and pressure, reviewed Project Blue Book's vast files and research. Its emotional impact was profound, concluding that the study of UFOs was unlikely to yield groundbreaking scientific discoveries, advising termination of active government research. This report paved the way for Blue Book's formal closure in 1969 by the Air Force Secretary. Yet many researchers argue that the Condon Committee overlooked or dismissed significant cases with credible evidence and anomalous data, fueling suspicions of incomplete disclosure. Declassified Project Blue Book archives provide a rich resource for ongoing study. Thousands of pages of reports, photographs, radar logs, and witness interviews tell not just of strange objects in the sky, but of the people behind those reports. The pilots shaken by inexplicable sightings, the radar men tracking phantom blips, the civilians forever changed by brief encounters. Secret military programs involving stealth aircraft and reconnaissance planes, such as the U-2 and A-12, partly explain many sightings during the late 1950s and 60s, often kept classified for decades, ironically fueling speculation about extraterrestrial visitation. Project Blue Book's legacy is complex, both a landmark in government-sponsored scientific inquiry and a symbol of human fascination with the unknown. Its influence permeates aerospace research, popular culture, scientific skepticism, and the ongoing pursuit to understand what flies beyond terrestrial knowledge. Present-day government initiatives into UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, often cite Blue Book as a foundational reference, underscoring the enduring relevance of its work, questions, and mystery. Project Blue Book was the longest-running official UFO investigation program in U.S. history, active from 1952 until its termination in late 1969. Its headquarters at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base became the central hub where thousands of reports, witness testimonies, and physical evidence were methodically collected and analyzed. At the heart of Blue Book's strategy was scientific rigor. Investigators used standardized questionnaires that captured detailed descriptions: size, shape, color, flight pattern, speed, sound or silence, duration, and physical effects. This standardization across thousands of cases sought to turn highly subjective, variable eyewitness reports into comparable data points. The Battle Memorial Institute played an essential role in introducing a rigorous statistical approach. Their special report number 14, completed in 1954, analyzed over 3,200 cases and is regarded as a landmark study in UFO research methodologies. It classified sightings into knowns, unknowns, and insufficient information, applying objective vetting criteria. For a case to remain unknown, all analysts assigned to review it had to unanimously agree it defied explanation. Despite thorough study, 701 cases officially remained unexplained after Blue Book closed. These enigmatic incidents often included multiple witnesses, radar corroborations, and sometimes physical evidence such as landing marks or electromagnetic interference. One of the program's most famous cases is the Washington, D.C. sightings. Over several nights, radar and visual confirmation of fast-moving lights capable of unusual maneuvers baffled military officers. Attempts to explain these showed limitations in atmospheric science and radar interpretation at the time. The cultural backdrop of the Cold War exacerbated tensions, as any unknown technology in the skies could hint at foreign espionage or advanced weaponry. In fact, many UFO reports were eventually linked to secret test flights of reconnaissance aircraft like the U-2 and A-12 spy planes, explaining a percentage of cases previously thought inexplicable. Dr. J. Allen Hynek, initially a skeptic, played a pivotal role in bringing scientific credibility and nuanced understanding to UFO research. His classification of close encounters stratified the phenomenon by increasing complexity from mere visual sightings to physical interaction and alleged contact with occupants. The 1968 Condon Report, an independent scientific evaluation, concluded that UFO research was unlikely to yield significant scientific discoveries, precipitating the program's closure in 1969. Yet this conclusion remains controversial, with many arguing the report neglected the more puzzling, credible cases, Blue Book's declassified files, now publicly accessible, provide extensive detail on myriad cases, from mundane misidentifications to extraordinary events defying explanation. They include witness interviews, photographs, radar data, and analytical summaries. Contemporary government interest in unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, echoes many Blue Book cases. Modern sensor technology and intelligence tools provide new dimensions of observation, but like their predecessors, today's investigators confront a persistent core of unknowns. Project Blue Book story is not merely a catalog of sightings but a layered narrative revealing the human quest for understanding. Amidst complexity, ambiguity, and occasionally startling evidence that challenges our grasp of reality, its legacy lives on in ongoing discussions about the nature of aerial anomalies and the boundaries of scientific inquiry, reminding us that some mysteries endure not for lack of effort, but for the vast scale of the unknown. Project Blue Book's vast archives reveal a multi-dimensional saga, one that exposes the complexity of studying phenomena at the edge of human understanding. Beyond the sheer volume of reports, over 12,000 collected, there lies a narrative of evolution in investigative rigor, the intersection of military and scientific priorities, and the persistence of unexplained observations that challenge conventional wisdom. Early projects, Project Sign and Project Grudge, laid the groundwork, but Blue Book refined and formalized investigation methods. At its peak, Blue Book operated with a structured approach consisting of standardized questionnaires meticulously documenting every detail of sightings, detailed classification of incidents based on witness reliability, environmental conditions, and physical evidence, multidisciplinary expert consultation spanning meteorology, aerospace technology, psychology, and physics, collaboration with external entities like the Battelle Memorial Institute to strengthen data analysis and reduce bias. The balance of skepticism and open inquiry was a hallmark. Investigators steered between debunking and legitimizing, supported by scientific methodology, but constrained by the political realities of the Cold War. A review of the most significant cases heightens the mystery. The Washington, D.C. sightings, 1952, disrupted air traffic control as objects performed high-speed maneuvers captured on radar that could not be reconciled with conventional technology. Jets scrambled to intercept but could not confirm or track the objects visually at times. The Socorro incident, 1964, with police officer Lonnie Zamora witnessing a landed craft, was investigated thoroughly. Physical traces such as imprints were documented, yet no definite explanation emerged. The Lubbock Lights, with photographic evidence and corroborated multiple witnesses, remain one of the clearest examples of gliding aerial lights resisting wireless interference and evading explanation. The Malmstrom Air Force Base missile silos case, where reported UFO sightings coincided with missile system malfunctions, has been cited in later official UAP reports as an instance of possible interference. Battelle's scientific report, Special Report Number 14, crystallized Blue Book's cautious stance, concluding that while most reports could be assigned earthly explanations, a small but consequential portion was unexplainable with current knowledge, a statement that still fuels debate. The conclusion of Project Blue Book was shaped heavily by the Condon Report's findings, which recommended ceasing formal government UFO investigations. The report drew criticism for allegedly glossing over some significant unexplained cases while focusing on a scientific conservative approach that many say undermined further inquiry. Declassified Blue Book files allow public and scientific scrutiny decades later, revealing the depth, diligence, and remarkable scope of investigations. They disclose not only the phenomena, but the human dimensions behind the reports, the witness's courage, the scientist's curiosity, and the military's caution. The program's closure did not silence questions, rather, it passed the torch to emerging civilian researchers, ufologists, and eventually new governmental studies, under different names, but with roots tracing back to Blue Book's legacy. Today's ongoing UAP investigations within the U.S. Department of Defense and allied international entities reaffirm the challenge Blue Book faced, that despite advanced technology and decades of experience, many aerial phenomena evade identification and understanding. Project Blue Book's documentation remains a vital resource, bridging historic cases and contemporary research, showing that the study of unidentified phenomena is far from closed, but rather an evolving frontier of scientific and cultural exploration. This final chapter of the Blue Book story underscores the paradox. Thorough investigation, methodical science, and detailed records exist side by side with persistent, unexplained mysteries, an invitation for continued exploration, learning, and open-minded inquiry.